This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. I'm Seth Merrill. Thanks for joining us. Fun show today because, there's a lot of good racing around the country with the three big Derby preps at Santa Anita, Aqueduct, and Keeneland. We will talk about all of those races and more coming up a little bit later on. Taped a nice interview with Mark Casse yesterday. He has Flame Away in the Bluegrass, and he also updated us yesterday, but now we know Determinant was cross-centered into Transylvania yesterday, but with the expected scratch of Quip in the Bluegrass, he was going to come in off the AE, so Determinant will also be in the Bluegrass for Mark Casse. He talked about some of his other stakes runners today at Keeneland and Aqueduct, and caught up on some of his runners that will be coming to the races in upcoming weeks, like World Approval, a little update on that one. And Mark gives his thoughts on the kind of the dud World Approval threw in the Kilroe. Also caught up with where Wonder Godot may show up next. All of that coming up in a few with Mark Casse. A little bit after that, Andy Serling talked with him about some of the stakes action at Aqueduct on a big day for them this afternoon. But top of the show, nobody better to talk about the Derby preps with than our friend Jeremy Plonk, horseplayernow.com. But at this time of year, more importantly, the nice Friday afternoon package that comes out every week, Countdown to the Crown. And, of course, night school is underway as well. Jeremy, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. What do you want to talk about today?
Yeah, really. What will be the topics? One thing I do want to touch on with you, though, going back to yesterday, opening day at Keeneland, and I said it, opening day at Keeneland, turf racing started in New York, the Wood Memorial, kind of for horse players, the robin on the front lawn. It signals springtime, although the weather a little dicey out in Kentucky for Keeneland. But I did want to mention during the meet, if people go to the Keeneland website, they can find your selections every day. I pulled it up today just before we went on the air. Go to the racing page, then click on expert picks, and there's some arrows there. They may have to use the arrows to find your name, but if you get to Jeremy's name, click on that. And nice analysis, and you have nice statistics looking at most of the races as well every racing day out at Keeneland.
Yeah, I try to do stats and trends and then, come up with a top three for the consensus grid. And on the simulcast feed from Keeneland, you can get kind of the actual brass tacks pick that way. But the blog is more stats and trends and what to look for in the races based on, more than 10 years doing this for Keeneland now, dating back to 2008. And we've looked at every race from them for 10 years now. The 11th year begins. And had a good opening day, hit the late pick four a couple times. And you had to hit it a couple times. It didn't pay that much, but it was one of those sequences that you kind of play a focus ticket, hit it multiple times, and you can have a good day. So it got me out. We're ready to continue on another good day. We've got a handicapper of the day series at Keeneland you should keep an eye on for Thoroughbred Aftercare. Yesterday, Brian DiDonato for the publication, the Thoroughbred Daily News, from Thoroughbred Daily News. He hit for more than $600. He hit the pick five and raised more than $660 for charity for the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. So we look forward to raising money for them throughout the course of the meet, too.
Excellent. All right. And again, people can check that out on the Keeneland website for Jeremy's thoughts every racing day. All right, Jeremy, speaking of thoughts, before we get into this afternoon and the big three Derby preps, I wanted to go back to last weekend. Let's start out. We were down doing a couple of days of broadcasting at Gulfstream Park for the Florida Derby, so we witnessed it ourselves. We're going to talk a little bit here about the Florida Derby with the win from Audible. I thought this was a second nice performance from Audible, pulling up the Countdown to the Crown package that came out yesterday afternoon. You moved Audible to number 1, so I'm assuming also you were impressed by the performance. Talk a little bit about Audible in the Florida Derby and your thoughts.
The great thing about Audible's performance, I thought, was it looked like a race with a lot of speed. It turned out to be a race with a lot of speed, and he looked like he may be part of that. But John Velazquez, after a nice sharp break to get position, was able to get the horse to come back to him, and they relaxed. And down the backstretch, Todd Pletcher even commented, I was a little worried because he was dropping out of it, but John knew what he had underneath him. And that's the kind of gears you really need. We know that first over trip has won the Kentucky Derby 4 years in a row. But what if things don't work out right? You know, what if you don't get the exact perfect trip? That's where experience comes into play. That's where getting in a little bit different environmental factors can help a horse grow their game some. And I thought Audible took a big step forward. Had he just went out, sat, a length off of those 2 speed duelers, 2 lengths off of them, got first over run and went on to victory, that would have been less impressive than what he did. I thought he got a good education out of the race. Now, he's moved up to number 1 because he's got 2 of the top 5 performances this year so far. I thought his Holy Bull was really good. I thought his Florida Derby was really good. Maybe one of the horses today jumps and leapfrogs him back with a good effort. But based on what we've seen, absolutely, right up till today, I don't think anybody has 2 better efforts than he does.
I was on with Bick on Wednesday on the radio show, and I was talking on the handicapping show here earlier today with your colleague and ours, Brian Nadeau. And I said, right after the Florida Derby, I said, boy, there's your Kentucky Derby favorite. But as the week has progressed, I've started to think, you know what? If we get some big performances today, next weekend out in Arkansas, I won't say Audible gets forgotten. That's not the right word. But I'm wondering if maybe Audible moves down to a 3rd or 4th or 5th choice in the Derby, where you get, who knows, 4 or 5 or 6 to 1. I'm wondering if he will offer some good value on Derby Day.
I kind of think so. Now, let's say something silly, not silly, but, something offbeat happens today. Let's say Instilled Regard wins the Santa Anita Derby. So both Justify and Bolt D'Oro are not coming into the Derby off of victory. They're not going to make Mendelssohn the favorite. I don't think there'll be enough people to want to play the European bloodline, although Michael Tabor himself might be able to make the horse the favorite, with the way he plays. But I think there'll be enough detractors from Dubai and the foreign record. So, who's left? Magnum Moon would have to run off the screen in the Arkansas Derby, kind of like Bodemeister did a couple years ago, I think, to become the favorite. So, Audible, I think one of those 2 horses is going to win the Santa Anita Derby today, Justify or Bolt D'Oro, and I think one of those 2 horses goes as the Kentucky Derby favorite then. So, I think the favorite comes out of that showdown at Santa Anita this afternoon. But, I think Audible kind of sits in there. And let's say we get a really good effort by both of those horses in the Santa Anita Derby. I could see Audible 3rd, 4th choice. I could see that. There is a plausible scenario where he ends up the favorite, but a couple things have to happen for that to go down.
Yeah, and the 3rd and 4th choice in a 18, 19, 20 horse field, you can wind up with a decent little price there. It's going to be interesting to see.
Oh, yeah, 6, 8 to 1.
Yeah.
When you're talking 3rd choice. And two, we haven't seen this a lot, but let's say we get a standout favorite. Let's say Justify wins the Santa Anita Derby by 8 today, He may be like point given 9 to 5-ish in the Kentucky Derby. And, when you have that, then the 2nd choice is probably 6 to 1. 3rd choice is 8 or 10. So who knows? If you like Audible, and I do, you want to see big performances today out of somebody from the Santa Anita Derby, the Woods, the Bluegrass. You want everybody else to run big races right now because every point on them is another point up on you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, no doubt about it. All right, let's go to the other performance. Have a replay here of the UAE Derby. We're going to watch Mendelssohn win. Obviously, it was a big performance. It's created a lot of buzz. I see you have him at number 5 on your top 20. I'm at this point, again, we got to get closer to the Derby for me to firm up, but I'm kind of against just on the scenario of coming over from the UAE Derby. But, boy, it clearly was a very, very big effort last weekend.
Yeah, and look, he's 5 now, and there's, all of the big American preps are still yet to be run. There's 4 more big races, so, there's a good chance them pass him. And let's say he becomes, my 7th, 8th best choice in the Derby. Well, that's a 15 to 1 shot, So will he be 15 to 1? Absolutely not. And so I think he's going to be an underlay in the Derby, no matter what you think of him. He's not going to be the favorite. I talked about that. But he's not going to get let go double-digit odds. He's going to be in the high single digits. And for me, for everything he's trying to do, I think he's 15, 20 to 1-ish in fair odds. So I think Mendelssohn is an underlay for the Kentucky Derby and a horse you probably want to avoid from a gambler's standpoint. But you do have to respect what you see on the screen. I mean, that Boston awfully big performance. You know, the racetrack was so fast that day. But, I mean, he blitzed everybody. What's behind him? You know, you've got a filly. You got Steve Asmussen, of course, from New Mexico, Re-Ride. You know, maybe not a stellar cast by any stretch, but he did it the right way. How do you want to knock the horse who wins by 18? I went back, Seth, and I've got over 100 years of Kentucky Derby past performances. Go back to 1913, I think is the first year of Derby PPs I have. And I have not found a horse who won his final prep any longer than that.
Yeah.
18 lengths. Bellamy Road had the 17 and a half. Arts and Letters won the Bluegrass by 15. I haven't seen a pre-Derby blowout as big as that going back 100 years. So there's some specialty to it for sure.
Yeah, he certainly has a fun storyline, no question about it. All right, let's go to this afternoon. And again, you're focused on Keeneland during their meet, so I thought we'd kick off talking a little bit about the Bluegrass, pulling up your handicapping thoughts from the Countdown to the Crown package. And again, people can go to horseplayernow.com, click on the Countdown to the Crown link, and there's a nice package that analyzes these three Derby preps in detail. But while we talk, Jeremy, I'm going to pull up the San Felipe, the battle between Boltioro and McKenzie that wound up with a disqualification. But running third that day was Kanthaka. I'm kind of tilting in that direction just because this Derby prep season, the Southern California transplants have done so well. So our friends at West Point Thoroughbreds, I'm using that one on top. I see from your analysis, you're going back to the hopeful winner and looking for a rebound off of the Rebel performance for Sporting Chance and D. Wayne Lucas. Give us your thoughts on the Bluegrass this afternoon.
I think it's going to be a pace makes the race kind of event. I don't think there's a lot of speed in there. The speed that is there is California Knight and Freehold, who looks like cheap speed to me. I mean, I think this horse is overmatched and certainly at a mile and an eighth. So I think the horse is sitting second and third. Get that kind of trip that has won almost every Kentucky Derby prep we've seen this year. The horse kind of sits second or third, overtakes somebody, top of the lane, and goes on to victory. I think Sporting Chance can sit that perfect trip. He's drawn really well in the two-hole. He's a grandson of Candy Ride, and Candy Ride's had more winners on the dirt at Keeneland since they went back to that surface than any other sire. So I think there's maybe a little hidden horse for course form there. You know, I like that the draw is a positive draw. Luis Saez riding obviously in career form. He won this race 2 years ago with Brody's Cause. And I think I'm going to get a price. I mean, I think the Bluegrass is a really tough race.
Yeah.
I don't trust Good Magic a lot at 2-1. I think he'll be overbet. I respect his resume. I just don't know where he's at, and I wouldn't want to touch him at 9-5, 2-1, 8-5. So I think we're going to get better prices on other horses. I think Sporting Chance stays a double-digit price. I love the post draw inside at Keeneland with some speed. I think he sits second, right behind California Knight most of the trip. And if he can get that first overrun, that's why I took him on top. But Kanthaka could get a similar trip coming, you know, from California. Those horses typically have a little more speed than the horses in the East. So even though Kanthaka's running lines don't say that he's a pace presser kind of horse, again, with a good draw in the 4-hole, Julian Leperoux won this race a couple times in recent years, including IRAF last year, who he kept right near the face. You know, Kanthaka is not without chance in here, and he's another one. Let's do a value analysis on him. You know, what do you think the fair odds on Kanthaka are? 10-1 in the morning line, I think that's about right. If you get 10-1, I think he's a good play. If he's less than that, you know, the Julian factor, maybe you don't get the fair odds, but he's got a puncher's chance in here for sure. And like your pick and mine, I think they're going to get fairly similar trip, and they're inside draw, and I think that's a positive in this big field.
Yeah, we saw the San Felipe a moment ago, and Kanthaka, a well-beaten third, but again, if you believe that both Boltioro and McKenzie are at the top of the class, obviously McKenzie on the sidelines at this point, but again, these Southern California shippers, when they've gotten away from the 800-pound gorillas, they've done very well, and I agree. I think we'll get a price. I'd be willing to take maybe 7 or 8-1 even, and I think in this field, that's certainly possible. I think there's a lot of other action. Good Magic, Flame Way Up probably takes some action in here. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that one plays out odds-wise. But I'm with you. Maybe shop around for a little bit of value in what I think is a really competitive race. In an afternoon where a lot of these horses are chasing points, that's the storyline as well.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, when you get to this stage, you know, what do you need to do, you know? And for Good Magic, a top 3 finish is obviously going to put him there. He's kind of right on the brink of the point. You want to be right around 40 points. Pre-drop Billy's in the same ballpark. So, are those horses absolutely knuckled down to run the race of their life when they only need to run third to move on? Maybe not. It depends on, the connections and how important it is for them to win a race like the Bluegrass. But when you take a look at, Stone Street Stable, E5 Racing, they've won a Breeders' Cup with this horse, Good Magic. So do they need to win a Bluegrass? Not necessarily. That doesn't make that horse's career any better, given that he's already a champion of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Pre-drop Billy's connections have already won this race. They've already had success in the Bluegrass and Dale Roman. So again, sometimes motivation and how much they really have to have this race is so important. And look, we know Wayne Lukas wants to get to the Kentucky Derby. He's got Bravazzo already there. Sporting Chance, he got away from Oaklawn to try to give him a better chance and get away from Magnum Moon out there. And Lukas wants to dance. We know that. I think Sporting Chance is going to be hard cranked for this race. He's got a couple bullet workouts at Oaklawn, and motivation is a big factor right now.
All right, let's move on to the Wood Memorial this afternoon down at Aqueduct, Grade 2 event, $750,000, 9 furlongs the trip. I like the horses coming out of the Gotham. I have Enticed on top, Old Time Revival in the 3rd spot. Vino Rosso was kind of the wise guy horse down at Tampa in the 2 races and didn't quite live up to that. I just have a feeling he might rebound this afternoon for Todd Pletcher. I will admit that's a little bit of a crystal ball kind of a selection. In the 4th spot, I put the horse that I think you like. I wasn't quite sure what to do with Restoring Hope, but as you noted in your notes in the Countdown to the Crown package, and we'll pull up some video here, he worked out just the other day with Solomini, and Restoring Hope in the video is going to be on the inside, Solomini on the outside, and gave that one all he could ask for, certainly. So Baffert Shipping East scares me quite a bit. Talk a little bit about your thoughts in the Wood Memorial, and again, Restoring Hope we're watching here in the workout.
Well, I think Restoring Hope is the horse to beat. Baffert has come east and won this race in the past, and he's so successful when he does come to New York. But Solomini's a Grade 1 caliber horse. We've seen that Grade 1, Grade 2 type stakes horse in this 3-year-old crop, and I thought he absolutely just toyed with him in the workout that you're showing. The rider on Restoring Hope on the inside was kind of motionless, and he was kind of being the target and saying, are you going to come and get me or what? And Solomini never could, and he galloped out much better than him, and we saw this, with Noble Indy before the Louisiana Derby with a horse who I thought really worked out exceptionally coming into the race and was a horse who you had to move forward in your estimation based on the way you saw them work. And I think it's the same way with Restoring Hope. Now, last week when taking a look at some of the workouts from XBTV and looking at Audible last week, Audible didn't work that well, and that was maybe a reason to have a little bit of pause going in. But like I always tell people with visual handicapping, with workout handicapping, things like that, and looking at these things, it's much easier to feel good about a horse than to feel bad about one. You can always tell what a good effort looks like and what it means. A bad effort is like, what were the circumstances? But if you look here, Solomini to the outside, his ears are up, he's trying, he's doing what he can. The jock's shaking the reins, he's moving the arms. The rider on the inside is just motionless, and Solomini can't get to him, and he gallops out 2 lengths in front of him. So I thought Restoring Hope had a really good workout. The lesson learned last week was don't toss a horse based on a workout, but certainly you can like one based on the way they're working. And I thought Restoring Hope really made Solomini kind of look inferior in that workout. So if that's the case, if he can dust a horse of the quality of Solomini, then I think he matches up really well in this Wood Memorial. The horse to beat is Enticed off Resume. No question about it. His Gotham was great, but we talked just a few minutes ago, what's the motivation? He's already got enough points to play in the Kentucky Derby. He already likes Churchill Downs. He won the Kentucky Jockey Club there in the fall. It'll be a different track on Derby Day than it is in the fall at Churchill. I always warn people about that. But we know he can handle the environment at Churchill and things like that. There's no great motivation for Godolphin to add the Wood Memorial to Enticed resume. It's a Grade 2. He's already a Grade 2 winner. So if Kieran just wants to get him to the Derby with a really nice effort today, then he'll probably get beat. unless that really nice effort is still good enough to beat this field. That's what we're going to have to find out. But I can't imagine that Entice is trying to run the race of his life. He might still be good enough to win it, though, with a B-plus effort, because I think he's better. I think he's simply better than every other horse in this field. I'm hoping Restoring Hope is a horse on the rise, but there's no way you can look at what they've done so far and not think Entice is the best horse in this race.
All right, finally, let's go out to Southern California, Santa Anita Derby. Only 7 in here, and I think that reflects on Justify and Bolt d'Oro and what the trainers were thinking when the entry box closed, with the possibility of those 2 running. Going to pull up, we saw that San Felipe a few moments ago looking at Bolt d'Oro and Canthaka over in the Bluegrass. But right now we're going to take a look at Justify in that optional claimer from March 11th. Justify going to win this pretty easily and pretty nicely with a second triple-digit buyer figure in 2 career starts. The Baffert trainee getting all kinds of buzz off the maiden breaker and this optional claiming win. Has to validate it today because this is a horse that is chasing some points to get into the Kentucky Derby. Bolt d'Oro proven already, so the focus is on those 2 clearly. Instilled Regard has shown some talent winning the Lecomte earlier this season, but again, it seems like it's going to go through the top 2 here. Your thoughts on the Santa Anita Derby?
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough to envision that those 3 horses don't run 1, 2, 3 in some fashion, and it would be a surprise if Instilled Regard pops into the exacta. I mean, it's either Bolt d'Oro, Justify, Instilled Regard, or Justify, Bolt d'Oro, Instilled Regard. I mean, I just don't see this as a very creative situation. How the race shapes up, how much they want to attack each other, because Justify's got early speed, Bolt d'Oro can sit a little bit, but how long will Mick Ruiz want to wait with Bolt d'Oro? What will his instructions be to Javier Castellano? Will Castellano rise to those instructions on Bolt d'Oro, or do you let Justify kind of get away from you? How quickly they engage is going to be so important in this race, because with a horse like Justify, he's never been looked in the eye. So if it's the 3/8 pole, Bolt d'Oro comes up to his outside and the race is on for 3 full furlongs, what a test that's going to be. And with a horse that doesn't have a lot under him other than those 2 races, the maiden and the allowance race, you would have to think the advantage goes to Bolt d'Oro if he engages him early. But at what price do you pay? Steve Asmussen has that line that he said many times, we get paid for what we do in this game, but we also pay for what we do. In that, if they go after, if Bolt d'Oro and company go after Justify for 3 full furlongs, what does that leave you for the Kentucky Derby? And if the goal for a horse like Bolt d'Oro, who's already a 2-time Grade 1 winner, it's not to add another Grade 1 in the Santa Anita Derby, it's to win the Kentucky Derby. So this is going to be such an interesting race. I am one of the people in the camp of resume over expectations, unless the price justifies it, I mean, I take a horse like Restoring Hope because I think we're going to get a price with Entice at 6-5. On the other side, if you're getting Justify at 6-5, I would just rather take the resume at a little bit better price. And I think you'll get a little bit better price with Bolt d'Oro, and he's got the better resume. But look, this race can knock both of these horses out. I think that's the danger of this, is in such clearly a 2-horse race to most observers. Stylistically, if it's a 2-horse race for the final 1/8 of a mile, that's fine. If it's a 2-horse race for 3/8 of a mile, boy, it could exact a toll. Just like we saw in the San Felipe, right? Bolt d'Oro had a throwdown with Mackenzie, and here we are 4 weeks later, and Mackenzie's out. These races take a toll. You pay the price for what you get paid for in this game, as Asmussen said. And so can Bolt d'Oro take another hard knocker in a row? That's another good question. Even if he wins this race, what do they have left for Kentucky if they have 2 very tough races in a row? It's going to be a fascinating Santa Anita Derby, though. Probably the most talent of any race we've seen at the top for sure this year, because those 2 look the premium talent.
Yeah, looking forward to this afternoon. Again, the 3 big Derby preps will produce some very potent players coming up in a few weeks at Churchill Downs. Again, folks can pick up the Countdown to the Crown package at horseplayernow.com. I also note, I pulled it up on my screen, the night school schedule, another night school session coming up this Tuesday, April 10th.
Yeah, roundtable discussion premieres 8:30 Eastern. Jim Goodman, top handicapper at Keeneland, simulcast director there, and NHC qualifier and tournament player, will be one of our guests in the roundtable. So join us Tuesday night at 8:30.
Like it. And again, you can find Jeremy's comments and thoughts on every racing day at Keeneland. Go to the expert picks link on the Keeneland website. Jeremy, as always, appreciate the visit. Good luck this afternoon.
You too. Enjoy the wood.
All right, Jeremy Plonk, horseplayernow.com, Countdown to the Crown Night School, and much, much more. We'll take a break. When we come back, Mark Casse. Stay tuned.
It may be cold in the Northeast, but in South Florida, the action's hot. This winter, be part of the championship meet at Gulfstream Park, where the fields are deep and the payouts are big. With some of the most competitive turf racing in America, Gulfstream Park is your winter destination for the finest in championship thoroughbred horse racing. And if you're looking for the top jockeys and best trainers, you'll find them all at Gulfstream Park. So play it today. Gulfstream Park. Champions start here.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Thanks to Jeremy Plonk. A little preview via the Countdown to the Crown package at the 3 Derby preps this afternoon. Again, you can find his full analysis if you go to Countdown to the Crown at horseplayernow.com. Also, our friend Brian Nadeau. He does the Derby prep races on Teresa Gennaro's website, brooklynbackstretch.com. You can find his analysis of the 3 Derby preps as well over there. All right, let's get right to our next interview. Talked to Mark Casse yesterday. He has Flame Away and Determinant in the Bluegrass this afternoon. Some other horses and some of the other stakes at both Keeneland and over at Aqueduct as well. We talked about those and some other horses of his, some stakes runners that will be coming up in the upcoming weeks. All of that right now with trainer Mark Casse. Happy to be joined now by Mark Casse. He has some runners at various venues on Saturday. We'll touch on those and more. Good afternoon, Mark.
Oh, good afternoon.
And as we are recording on Friday, let me touch on one horse that is entered Friday and also entered Saturday. Determinant entered in Friday's Transylvania, but also eligible in the Bluegrass. Has there been a determination for Determinant?
He's going to run in the Bluegrass.
Quip's out.
Quip, or, with the defection of the Quip, is it?
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
it is.
yep.
Yes, Quip. He's going to the Arkansas Derby. That left a slot open for us, and we're going to pass today and run tomorrow.
All right, give us some thoughts. We'll get to Flameway in a second then, but if Determinant is going to go, give us some thoughts on Determinant in the Bluegrass.
Well, look, it's a big. He's never run on the dirt. He's bred for it. He's a big, handsome colt. I thought his last race was, and though it was on the grass, I still don't know how he won. He had about 3 or 4 things happen to him in the race, and for him to show the determination and to be able to win the way he did, we just figured we're going to give him a shot and see what happens.
Before we get to Flameway, I wanted to go back to last week. We were down in Florida doing some broadcasting, and we're there for the Florida Derby. We're going to watch the stretch run here. It's Audible over Hofburg, and number 9 Mississippi runs third in here. This was the stakes debut for Mississippi. I have the points list here. You're sitting with Mississippi, number 29, although the filly at number 12 that ran second in the UA Derby, unlikely to go. So you're probably more like 28 with 20 Derby points. Is there any consideration next week to try the Lexington to maybe add some more points to Mississippi?
No. Mississippi is going to, if all goes as planned, will aim for the Pat Day Mile.
Okay.
And then, a big effort there could possibly land him in the Preakness. But no, we're not going to come back next week.
Okay, just curious because that's floating out there for folks who maybe wanted to chase some points, but timing, it's a funny situation. All right, let's go back to.
We're going to try to win. We have a horse called Telekinesis that we're going to try to win the Lexington with.
Oh, okay.
A horse that we're really high on. So no, there'll be no Mississippi next week.
All right, let's go to the Bluegrass, back to the Bluegrass, and get some thoughts on Flame Away. I'm going to pull up the Tampa Bay Derby back on March 10th. Quip is going to win the number 10 horse, but Flame Away, the number 5. Boy, another gutsy performance. I'm wondering your takeaway from this. Obviously, just wouldn't let horses go by, wouldn't let Catholic Boy go by in the Sam Davis, but I thought this was really another determined effort from Flame Away. Ran second, but what was your takeaway in the Tampa Bay Derby?
I thought it was a big effort.
Yeah.
He got knocked pretty hard at the start, which put us out of position. And so the entire race, then the pace wasn't that fast to help matters. And so we were kind of in a precarious position throughout the race, but he kept coming. And my thought was he ducked in a couple times down the lane, again, probably because he was in a position he'd never been in before, trying to catch up. And I thought he ran extremely well. But more importantly, he's come out of that race and trained better than ever. He's gonna give us a real big effort tomorrow. Hopefully, it'll land him in the winner's circle.
Yeah, we just watched him come under the wire, and when he gets going in the stretch, makes a nice late run, which, as you said, a little bit different from him, the come-from-behind style. In the Bluegrass, I'm assuming the game plan go back to get to the lead?
Well, he doesn't have to be on the lead, but he doesn't. He needs to be close. My hope would be when they turn for home, he's on the lead and somebody has to run him down, because he's extremely tough when he's a fighter. He's I call him my little Rocky. He maybe doesn't have as much talent as some of the other big guys, but when it comes to pure grit and determination, you'll have a tough time finding one better than him.
Yeah, we were down at Gulfstream last week and again walked around the backstretch of Palm Meadows, and we were talking to your assistant, Nick Tomlinson, and he said, in the morning, he's just a gutsy horse.
He is. He doesn't do anything real spectacular, but when it's game time, he's on his game.
All right, let's talk about some of your other runners tomorrow. In the Madison at Keeneland, you have Salty, and we're going to go back and look at her seasonal debut, March 1st, in an optional claimer down at Gulfstream. Pretty good-looking return to the races. Salty will be the number 6 here, went off by a chart margin of 2 lengths. That race was at a mile. The Madison is at 7 furlongs. She was a player in that nice 3-year-old division last year. Obviously, races like the Alabama at a mile and a quarter, Coaching Club a mile and an eighth, Coaching Club American Oaks. But the Madison at 7 furlongs, is this just kind of a starting point stakes-wise, or do you envision her as a player in the filly and mare sprint division this year?
That's a bit of an experiment. Obviously, she's a Grade 2 winner. We'd like to win. We're trying to make her a Grade 1 winner. We kind of always felt like that she could be a really good kind of come-from-behind sprinter, similar to what we did with Awesome Slew. And so it's an experiment. I always say that training horses is putting puzzles. It's like putting a puzzle together. You keep trying the pieces until you find the ones that fit. And so I just thought it was a good time to try this. And Looks like it's an extremely tough race. Looks like there's a lot of speed, which is good, and we're just hoping that there's a lot of speed up front, and maybe they come back a little bit, and she can come running.
Well, she certainly, again, looked good in that seasonal debut, so let's see what she does in the Madison. A little bit earlier on the card is the Shakertown, 5.5 on the grass. Speaking of which, are you in Keeneland?
I am, yes.
The weather is looking dicey for tomorrow, for Saturday?
It is. That's what they tell me. Now, the latest I heard was that it was now they're not predicting maybe only an inch of snow or something like that, where at one time I think they thought there could be 6 to 10 inches. But the last thing I heard, and please don't, this is purely what I was told,
I hear you.
Was that had changed. So, yeah, it could get interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm knocking on the wood here of the desk. The Shakertown 5.5 on the grass, and I wanted to talk a little bit about commute. We're going to go back to the Highlander back in July up at Woodbine. Green Mask, a very talented turf sprinter. Green Mask is going to win this to number 4, Calgary Cat second, and number 1, Commute, runs third in here. This horse has been off since then. What was the reason Commute went to the sidelines?
Just wanted to give him a freshening,
Okay.
and I believe it's really paid off. I think Commute is training well, and I expect him to run very well tomorrow too.
And we're showing a first-time gelding logo here on the page. Is that correct?
And that happened during the rest. He got a rest, and he also
equipment change.
Was gilded.
Yeah.
Yes, equipment change. Very important one.
Responded well?
Very well. Very well. I couldn't be more pleased with Commute currently.
All right. And wanted to also talk about the Commonwealth. We were doing the handicapping show earlier, and I said I would ask about some of these horses, and First Premio was one of those. The Commonwealth, 7 furlongs, grade 3 event. First Premio, interesting, because I'm curious if you saw something in the Mine Shaft. The Mine Shaft last time was First Premio's debut on dirt down at the fairgrounds. Ran 4th, but did it with a pretty good-looking buyer number. Now you cut back to 7 furlongs in the Commonwealth. What was the decision-making process to pick this spot?
Again, just I've seen him do some things and show some quickness that would make me believe that he could be a really good sprinter. Worked last year in the same exact race with Awesome Slew. We're going back that way. I was going back and forth. My options were either this or go a mile and an eighth. I thought he made kind of a nice middle move in the Mine Shaft and then flattened out a little late. He's another horse that he's shown great talent on the synthetic. He's shown talent on the turf. He's shown talent on the dirt. I'm just trying to figure out where he fits in and where he's most effective.
Yeah, I used him on top. I thought he was kind of interesting off of that Mine Shaft race on the cutback
It wouldn't
as well.
shock me. I mean, I think he's an extremely talented horse. I thought enough of him. He trained so well. I had planned on taking him last fall to run him in the Malibu in California, going 7/8, and there was a problem with the plane, and we weren't able to make it. So I've been wanting to kind of run him at this distance for a while, and I thought, going forward, we've got the Ali Sheba at Churchill, or we have the Churchill Downs Sprint. So this race can kind of decide which direction I want to go, and it gives me good timing. So that's why he's there.
Let me ask you, I'm kind of curious, because as handicappers, we have certain ways of thinking about situations. I'm curious, as a trainer, if you have similar thought patterns. Handicapping, we often look at horses on the cutback from a 2-turn race to a sprint and look at that as a positive. Is that something as a trainer you look at it as a positive as well?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. And I think the key to a lot of it is you have to look at what racetracks you're racing over. For instance, I wouldn't necessarily try this with Salty or try this with First Premio at Gulfstream Park, where speed is so important. I think at Keeneland, plays very fair, and I'm not so sure. Every year it can be different, but normally, a horse come from mine, Sprinter, runs very well at Keeneland and at Churchill. So this is not just about these races. This is something I'm looking at, to tie me into other races as well. But of course, as a handicap, being a horse trainer is also being a handicapper. So, it goes along with it.
Absolutely. And let's move over now to Aqueduct. You've got a nice starter in the Carter that we've already talked about a little bit. Awesome Slew. Going to pull up a replay of the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Battle of Midway, the number 9 wins. Sharp Aztec up the 3, runs second. And you run third with number 5, Awesome Slew. This was the last time we saw Awesome Slew, so this will be the seasonal debut for the runner from Charlotte Weber's Live Oak Plantation. As you said, you debuted last year in the Commonwealth, and he won that. That was a Grade 3. The Carter, a Grade 1 in New York. What was the decision-making process? I mean, a talented runner, obviously, and the Grade 1, did that play into the decision to go to New York?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a horse that we have stallion future, that has stallion future in our stallion prospect in his future. He's already a Grade 2 winner. He's made $1 million. He's a beautiful horse. The Carter has a great tradition, and it comes with a Grade 1, and it would look really nice on his resume, and that's why he's there. I've trained him pretty hard for this race, harder than I do normally, and he's training about as good as a horse can train. So there's some nice horses in there. Todd's horse is kind of an unknown, but our horse is an extremely talented horse, and I'd be disappointed if he's not right there.
Yeah, that nice bullet workout in the middle of March kind of jumps off. The best of 29 over Palmettos with a 59 flat, so it seems like he's at his toes.
Yeah, that was I've been training at Palmetto for some time now. His work out of the gate may have been the best work I've ever seen at Palmetto.
Oh, nice.
So, and we did it on purpose. We wanted, that was our little race. So our feeling was he's got one under him. It just doesn't show up on his past performances.
Very good. Well, we wish you a lot of luck on Saturday with all your runners, but I wanted to touch on a couple of more on what we can look at in the future before we let you go. Let's go back to World Approval. And, the 5th place finish in the Kilroe back on March 10th. Now, I saw he worked, what was it, today? I pulled up Equibase.
Yeah, he worked this morning, yes.
And so how did he come onto the Kilroe? And what was your takeaway on that race? I mean, that was a head-scratcher for bettors, certainly.
Yeah, it's a head-scratcher for his trainer as well. I don't know. I think it could have been a combination of a few things. Maybe his first race back was a little harder on him than we had thought. And then, he's a funny horse. He's not a push-button horse. He's got to get into the race. And if you let him, he'll drop back. Early on in his career, he would drop back to last and come with a run. And he'd be happy to do that. You have to kind of put him into the race, and he got away. He usually breaks like a shot, and he got away a little slow, got knocked around. And, Flavian riding, obviously he's riding the Breeders' Cup, Breeders' Cup winner, Eclipse winner. I think he probably thought that there was a little more there. It would come when he asked him. And, World Approval will just go around there if you let him. And so I think it was a combination of things. I've been flirting with the idea of running him next weekend in the Maker's Mark. I still haven't made a decision. I'm kind of just waiting. He likes it here in the cold. He loves Churchill Downs. Churchill Downs is where we got him ready for the Breeders' Cup, and so I sent him back to Churchill Downs. And I'm just going to see how he trains this week.
How'd he look this morning?
He looked good. He looked good.
Wanted to touch also on Wonder Godot. I've liked her since last year. Had the path down at the fairgrounds and wrapped that up in the Fairgrounds Oaks with a pretty close-up third-place finish about a week and a half, a couple of weeks ago. What's the game plan for her? You go on to the Kentucky Oaks? Do you have other plans for Wonder Godot?
Well, that's a good question. Right now, we're going to monitor the races this weekend. I think she's 9th currently, but they only run 14 in the Oaks.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance that after this weekend that she may be not have enough points to get into the Oaks. If that's the case, we worked her this morning. There's a shot we may send her and run her in the Fantasy at Oakland next Friday.
Ah, okay, very good.
So we're gonna.
Does that depend on the points? I mean, would you go there to get more points?
Well, we would go there to try to win more money, and also it'd be nice to pick up points. And I'm not, whether we would come back in the Oaks would still be up in the air. Okay. But the way it sits, if we don't go to the Fantasy and we don't get in the Oaks, then we're sitting there twiddling our thumbs. Yeah. And she's such a big, strong filly, handles racing. One thing about us, we will run them. We're not afraid to run them, and so we're, like I said, we're monitoring. We're keeping track of the points, and we'll make that decision. Right now, we are ready to go to Oakland.
Okay, interesting. And Mark, before I let you go, I just want to touch on one more thing. There was a nice little piece on the America's Best Racing website. We were down, as they say, in Florida, and we're there last Wednesday, a week ago Wednesday, for the 2-year-old Fasig-Tipton sale, and they put a nice piece together where they kind of followed you around watching the works, going back to the backstretch to look at the horses, and then sitting and talking with some clients as you bid on horses and wound up with a few. I'm curious, and again, I'll tout people to go look at that because it was a really nice piece, but I'm curious as to the follow-up after the piece ended. How do 2-year-olds coming out of a sale like that, what's next for them? How do they transition from the sales to the racetrack?
It's a box of chocolates. It depends a lot of who you buy them off of. Some will come and never miss a beat, and then some you have to give months to. I've been doing this for a long time. I think I've probably bought, I don't even know, probably 8 or 10 Breeders' Cup starters out of 2-year-old races. Just in the last couple of years, I bought Aeroforce, La Cornell, Wonder Godot, Road to Victory, Mississippi. So you kind of got to know the people that you buy from one, and you just bring them home, and you know every horse is different, and so it's a box of chocolates.
Yeah, interesting. As I say, I tell people to go get it's only a little 5-minute piece, but it's fun to kind of see the behind the scenes of that kind of situation.
I've heard about it. I haven't actually seen it, so I'll watch it. Hopefully I didn't make a fool of myself.
They did it. I used to own a video production company myself, and so I appreciate good work like that. They did a very good job. You came out looking very good. So.
Okay. Well, then they must be good. All right.
Mark, we appreciate the time. We know you're busy. Wish you a lot of good luck over the weekend, and we'll talk again.
Thank you. You have a great day. Bye.
Mark Casse joins us. A big day lined up for Saturday. Thanks to Mark Casse for joining us. And again, good luck to him on a big afternoon this weekend and going forward with World Approval and Wonder Godot. We'll take a break. When we come back, Andy Serling from the New York Racing Association. Big day for them, topped by the Wood Memorial. All that right after this.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Sign up today for Capital OTB's handicapping series and plan your trip to Las Vegas.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. We talked with Mark Casse a little bit about the anticipated weather for today. We talked with him yesterday, and he looked at the forecast. And they were originally calling for about 6 inches, but as you can see, that's the live shot from Keeneland now. They got a dusting. Mark had said the forecast had changed to a lesser amount of snow, and that's what it looks like. I just pulled up the forecast online as well, and the actual snow is supposed to kind of die out by now or noontime in the afternoon. They're saying, a low percentage of snow. So it looks like they kind of escaped with a dusting there in the Lexington area for this Saturday afternoon. All right, bluegrass down at Keeneland, but Wood Memorial at Aqueduct. We caught up with Andy Serling yesterday from the New York Racing Association. Hit on the Wood Memorial, a couple of the other stakes on the undercard as well. Andy Serling up next. Happy to be joined now by our friend Andy Serling from the New York Racing Association. And Andy, spring has sprung in New York. Turf racing on Friday, the Wood Memorial on Saturday after a long, cold winter. A big card scheduled for Wood Memorial Day.
Yeah, it's a great day for us. It's you think about our 6 months at Aqueduct. The last big day of the year is at Cigar Mile Day, and then the first big day of the year is Wood Day. So we're excited, as you say. We're glad to be back on the turf, and it may be a little chilly out. There may or may not have been a few snowflakes around, but we're going to say it's spring.
Yeah,
it's probably still deep winter where you are, but
well, it's. I was actually down at Gulfstream last weekend, so I got in a little beach time after watching the Florida Derby and broadcasting for a couple of days. So I got my break in. But it is springtime. We'll see how long it takes for the weather to turn. Before we get to this afternoon, speaking of last week, just quickly, thoughts on Audible and Mendelssohn.
Obviously, Audible ran well. He got a very good trip and setup. He doesn't really feel like a Derby contender to me, or a straw. He's a contender, I guess, but a major contender. I don't know. I wonder how well he'll run outside of Florida. I think it's always a question with Todd Fletcher's horses. I know last year he won with Always Dreaming, but he got very favorable circumstances. He's not a horse I'm particularly interested in going forward, at least at this point. As far as Mendelssohn, obviously he's a very good horse, Mendelssohn, but he did win that race with the benefit of a very strong rail. It wasn't a speed track as much as a strong rail that carried speed horses in most cases. But also, I don't understand why nobody's really talking about the turnaround. Do they really think he's going to come back 5 weeks after winning at Dubai and then go to Kentucky in completely different circumstances in a big field with other speeds and be dominant? If he is, I'll lose my money.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I just think the circumstances play against those kind of horses. I'm probably a little higher than you on Audible, but we'll see how it shakes out this weekend with the three big preps and next weekend as well in Arkansas. But in New York, the Wood Memorial, let's get some thoughts there. I pulled up a replay of the Gotham. We're going to watch number 9, Enticed Win, over number 7, Old Time Revival. Running fourth will be number 5, Frenzy Fire. They're all back on Saturday. And I put Enticed on top. I'm kind of forgiving that dud in the Holy Bull. I think the rebound here was nice. It was a win over the track, so I have Enticed on top. Vino Rosso in the second spot, kind of a wise guy horse from Pletcher. I think he has the potential to rebound. Old Time Revival in the third spot for me because I thought it was a nice race in the Gotham. And I admit I didn't know what to do with Restoring Hope coming in for Bob Baffert, who could be any kind. But what are your thoughts in the Wood Memorial?
Well, I picked Entice second, but just because I did. But I think he's a very, very likely winner of the race. He's just probably better than these horses. He has the tactical speed to sit relatively close and not be compromised. He's already won going 2 turns. And I mean, last time was the time to have him. He's obviously a much better price, and he figured to get a good trip, which he did last time. But he also delivered in a big way, and I don't see any reason you're supposed to be against Enticed here. I am going to take a small shot and pick Old Time Revival on top. But I do feel if Enticed loses, unless he just completely fails to show up, which is something you can't really handicap, that he's better than these horses. But Old Time Revival maybe can beat him on the front end. And he's fast, Old Time Revival. He was involved at a very quick pace, and he dueled with a horse that finished well back and ran a subpar performance, actually. So there's an argument that he really ran better than it looks and didn't really run much worse than Enticed. Whether or not he could stretch out to a mile and eighth, I don't know. He doesn't have the pedigree to be any good at all. So why should I be surprised by anything he does? So Old Time Revival seems to be the best upsetter. I don't get Vino Rossi, and I guess Restoring Hope may have some talent. As good as Baffert is, I looked at some numbers. His numbers shipping out of California off maiden wins and dirt routes into grade stakes. He's only 2 for 12 over the last 5 years. So these kind of horses are not what he's really been successful with. And he may be talented, and he might do well, but I don't think he's a major player here, but he is one of the ones that can win. I picked him third. I didn't see Vino Rosso at all. I've never liked a single race he's ever run in his career, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I admit that's a little bit of a crystal ball kind of a thing. I'm just kind of anticipating maybe he'll move forward a little bit. But Old Time Revival, as you say, maybe the speed. Restoring Hope has a little bit of early speed, but I don't think the same kind of speed as Old Time Revival. So Old Time Revival may have the shot to take him all the way around.
Oh, if Old Time Revival doesn't fall coming out of the gate in front of these horses, he's much faster than these horses early.
All right.
And he's drawn very far inside, too.
Let's take a look at a couple other stakes on the card. The Carter, I wanted to comment on that because I know I read your Twitter feed and you appreciated the field, as do I. I think it's a nice, strong edition of the Carter. Grade 1 event going 7 furlongs. I pulled up the Gulfstream race from January 31st, and you said it, and everybody knows it. The Gulfstream runners for Pletcher tend to move out of town, and maybe they're not as strong. But we're going to watch Army Mule here, the number 3 horse, break the maiden in the second career start with a 102 buyer. I just like this performance, so I put the horse on top. But I have to admit, Skylar Scramjet and Awesome Slew, who I have underneath, both obviously have an experience edge and may make me look foolish, but I'm going to take a little shot with Army Mule off this race we're watching right now down at Gulfstream. Again, it was only the second career start, so there may be some upside. What are your thoughts on the Carter?
Well, I don't know much upside there is in this horse, but well, he's won in New York. I mean, he did break his maiden first time out in New York, so it's not as though he hasn't shown he can run well. I mean, he's obviously crippled. I mean, this is a horse that didn't debut until April of his 3-year-old year. He doesn't come back again until the end of January. Now he's coming back in April. And just the fact that Todd Pletcher in just his third career start is taking a shot in a grade 1 says that Todd doesn't really expect this horse to be around very long. And he's going to strike while he can. I pick him third. If he wins this race, I won't be surprised. He's probably about as bad a gamble as you'll find in your life, in that he's going to be a horse going to be about 2 to 1 or 5 to 2 in a field full of experienced and talented horses. And I think he's a horrendous gamble in here. I wouldn't let him beat me in a multi-race bet, but I would book him before I bet him.
Who do you like?
If he was 5 or 6 to 1 and you want to take a shot with him, maybe. But I just think he's a terrible gamble at 2 to 1. Now, I'm not saying he can't win, Steph. I just think he's a terrible gamble at that price.
No, I completely understand. And as I say, I just thought that was a big effort last time. And Skylar Scramjet and Awesome Slew both have the experience edge. Are you tilting towards one of those two?
No, I don't. I thought Skylar Scramjet is very good, but I also think he's gotten very fortunate trips. He's been able to sit on paces that, sort of held together or, be in the right spots. And while he may it happen again here, he's got to go 7 furlongs, which he's never done. He's going to have to deal with some other talented horses making runs the times he makes his run. And I just think he's a bit vulnerable in here. I won't be surprised if he wins, but I was against him. Awesome Slew could win. I mean, they could all win. I'm not knocking anybody in here. There's a lot of horses that can win in here. Awesome Slew's good enough, but he's just okay. He's like my fourth pick. I thought Duchère was the horse you kind of wanted out of the top pool in a race that was dominating in the front end. He put in a powerful run from the back. But I'm going to bet on Favorable Outcome in here. I mean, Favorable Outcome obviously has to rebound from his horrendous performance down at Gulfstream last time. But this is a horse that's run one good race after another, and he's going to be a square price here for Chad Brown. And I think there's a chance he belongs with these. 7 furlongs, he did win the Swale at 7 furlongs, but I think it's a stretch to be his best distance. He's probably better a little shorter. But if he's anywhere as 8-1 morning line, I'd rather bet Favorable Outcome than a horse like Army Bull at a third to a quarter of the price.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with Favorable Outcome off the last race, but you might be right on.
Finally, he feels like he's good or bad, you know?
Yeah. Finally, quickly, let's get to the Bayshore. On the big days this time of year with the big 3-year-old races, there's that fun subdivision of the 3-year-old sprinters, and that's what we have in the Bayshore. I'm going to pull up the futurity from last year at Belmont. It will be number 6, Engage, getting it done for trainer Chad Brown. Engage making the seasonal debut. I put him on top over National Flag. National Flag, a big winner down at Gulfstream for Todd in his seasonal debut with a 98 buyer figure. But again, I think Engage off that 2-year-old to 3-year-old layoff may come back a little bit improved, and off of the effort we're seeing here in the futurity, I think there might be a nice future. Your thoughts on the Bayshore?
Yeah, he's okay. I've never been Engage's biggest fan, but he's okay. I picked him second, the National Flag third. I'm going to take a small shot with Avinu Mokenu. Yeah. Not that I'm, way in love with him, but I do think he's a better sprinter than a router, and they foolishly tried to rate him last time going a mile, got involved in a very fast pace in the Champagne 2 back. But I thought 7 furlongs. He's a horse that won his first 2 starts, so he can run well fresh. Well, he could have some upside, and his price would be kind of right. He might set the right trip in here. So I'm going to take a small shot with Avinu Mokenu. I'm engaged in National Flag are the watchable horses, but I'll take a small shot to beat them.
All right, Andy, know you got a busy day ahead, so we appreciate your taking a few minutes to visit with us. Good luck to you and everybody. And there's an MSG broadcast Saturday afternoon.
3 to 5:30.
Nice.
The usual crew, Maggie Wolfendale, Greg Wolf, Paul LaDuca. Gabby Gadet will be joining us as well, and we'll be covering, I guess, races 5 through 9. The Wood is on NBC. I think they're broadcasting from 5:30 to 7:30, but we'll be covering the stakes leading up to the Wood, including the Grade 1 Carter.
Looking forward to it. And again, spring has sprung in New York. We go through the Triple Crown, Saratoga only a few months away, so it's all good in New York. Andy, appreciate the visit.
My pleasure. Great to talk to you guys.
Andy Serling from the New York Racing Association. All right, welcome back. Again, thanks to Andy Serling for joining us. A little taped interview yesterday, as well as Mark Casse, some of his comments on runners today and in the future. And we were joined live this morning by Jeremy Plonk. Again, horseplayernow.com. Pick up the Countdown to the Crown package every Friday. Check yesterday's for previews of the 3 Derby preps this afternoon. Don't forget about those Derby preps, the Wood Memorial, the Bluegrass, the Santa Anita Derby. They'll be here on the network, and you'll be able to enjoy a lot of great racing action on undercards as well at the 3 venues, Santa Anita, Keeneland, and Aqueduct. Really a big, big day of racing. It should be a lot of fun. Don't forget, all afternoon here on the network, you will be joined live by Mike Callahan and Sully Crotty. They will be live from Aqueduct with some audio cut-ins throughout the afternoon leading up to and including the Wood Memorial this afternoon. Should be a lot of fun, so tune in for that and their thoughts on the big card today down at Aqueduct. If you want to swing by the Clubhouse Racebook today, there is a NYRA Pick 4 promotion and a match bet promotion as well. That's happening here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. I do want to remind you that next Saturday, the Road to Vegas contest continues. So if you've been playing or if you haven't played yet and you want to sign up and join in, next Saturday is the next chance to do that. Go to the website for more information on how you can sign up, capitalotb.com. All right, I'm going to wrap things up for this edition of Racing Across America. Be back tomorrow. We'll do some recap. Plan to be joined for a few minutes by Roddy Valente, who had the nice win in the Gulfstream Park Oaks last Saturday. Saw him out in the race book yesterday. He's still on a high from that, and I do not blame him at all. Also, be joined by Steve Bick to do a little recap of the Derby preps. He's had his radio show for the past week out at Santa Anita, so certainly we'll get some concentration on the Santa Anita Derby, but also his thoughts on the 2 other Derby preps as well. So it should be a fun edition of Racing Across America tomorrow morning at 10. We'll see you then. Thanks for joining us. Next time.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.